Paragraph 3. The paragraph 3 reads, "It is urgent because I am advised that Mr. Sibiya may soon be taking up a senior position in the South African Police Service as from the 1st of July 2022, and thus escape being held accountable. I can also confirm that the then acting city manager, Mr. F. Brink, first reported this matter to the Gauteng MEC for local government, and the MEC did not intervene."
Then you can move to paragraph 6 you originally intended to read.
Yeah, paragraph 6 reads as follows: "Therefore, to assist Council with these legal obligations, I request the Minister to urgently intervene and cause the evidence in the attached report to be tabled before Council. Also considering that Mr. Sibiya is still a city employee until he takes up employment with SAPS from the 1st of July 2022, the Minister of Copter will be notified of this matter." So this is a letter that is written by the City of Johannesburg, and it is addressed to the Minister of Police.
Why, and of what relevance is it to your testimony?
The relevance of this is that the city felt it is important for them to bring to the attention of the executive authority in the South African Police Service about the risk associated with the person that is coming to the organization. In June already, before he started his appointment in July. And they are flagging the 3.5 million rand rectification and a regular expenditure that amounts to 580 million rand. Of which was incurred. That seems to suggest that it happened under his leadership in the position that he was occupying as a forensic head in the city of Johannesburg.
Now, in your statement, in paragraphs 266 and 267, in fact, up to 268, you succinctly capture the challenge, firstly, the issue of how the minister dealt with what was brought to his attention and the challenges that you have with the manner in which it was handled.
Please, before you go on, General, just explain to me the request made in paragraph 6 of the letter. Is the minister referred to there must be the minister to whom the letter is addressed, which is the Minister of Police, or not?
That is correct.
Now, what I don't understand is why somebody employed by the municipality should be requesting the Minister of Police to intervene and cause the evidence relating to what is being alleged to be tabled before Council. Why should that be done by the Minister of Police?
Commissioner, the reason why the city wrote this letter to the Minister of Police, I cannot explain. But what of an interest to me is that the city is already flagging a risk that is associated with the individual that is coming to us. That there is this what the city is having a problem with, gratification of 3.5 million and a regular expenditure of 580 million that the city suffered as a result of this individual that we want to take, or that is coming to the organization.
So from where you are sitting, whatever the motivation for the writing of the letter, it does not matter to you. Your concern is more that the issue of the gratification had been flagged. That's what your concern is. That's what your issue is.
That is true, Commissioner. In an ordinary working of, especially in a department like the police, that is charged with the responsibility of upholding and enforcing the law, that you are warned of a person that you are about to employ who's questionable. And if proven these allegations, it will prove to be disastrous in the police. And at least with this warning, the management should have taken a decision of not placing this person in the heartbeat of the police. I mentioned earlier the position where he ended. But I must speed up, Commissioner, and say he arrived in the police as a Major General. When he left, he was dismissed from the service. And that was as a result of the disciplinary case surrounding the rendition of the Zimbabweans that were transported to Zimbabwe. So it was based on that. He was dismissed. There was an appeal on the dismissal. As I said earlier, the very same employer that dismissed him did not oppose that appeal. So as a result, the court ruled in his favor. So when he comes back, the organization takes him back because there's a court order now. But with this warning that comes, and I must then maybe retract back to say the employment in terms of what the Act is saying, the National Commissioner remains responsible for the employment. But there was an incident that happened back in the organization a couple of years back, where there's a section in the Police Act that empowers the National Commissioner to promote a person without advertising a position. Can elevate you to another position. So it happened that Gerald Khan from Crime Intelligence was a colonel in the police, was promoted from the rank of a colonel to a Major General at Crime Intelligence by the acting commissioner at the time, was Gerald Mutiba. And that upsetted the minister at the time, was Minister Mbalula, who was the head of the was executive authority in the police. And that triggered the ministry amending the regulations on the Police Act. And that amendment, it brought about the consultation with the ministry before you appoint. That's why I'm making a reference to it, that in terms of Regulation 39.4 of the police regulation, an appointment on this level of a Major General and higher must be made in consultation with the minister. So therefore, the letter with this warning addressed to the Minister of Police, then the Minister had an obligation, because it's a caution this. So he had an obligation to share this with the National Commissioner. I do not know whether it happened or not. But what I know is that Gerald Spear was appointed into the police and not, remember, when he left, he was at DPCI. When he came back, he was given a post of the head of organized crime in the police, at the head office. That's where he started. This is July 2022. Commissioners, fast forward. General Sibia then gets promoted by the same organization that fired him and that released him when he made an appeal that did not oppose his appointment, that appoints him despite this warning from the city. Then the organization promotes him within a year.
Maybe I'm missing something. The letter from Mr. Mlandu,
yes,
refers to a commencement date,
which was the 1st of July,
yes,
2022.
So that means he had already been appointed, but he had not yet assumed duties.
I like to believe, I do not know of the court date. The court had already issued a ruling about his dismissal, and the court ruled that he must be reinstated, but he must apply for that restatement. So I like to believe that that administration process must have happened because the city became aware that he's leaving the city back into the police.
General, if I may, I think the chair is making a slightly different point.
Yeah.
Regarding head to the date of the letter from the city. That letter you said is dated the 20th of June, and it points out that General Sibia was to assume duty in SAPS on the 1st of July, which was about which was about less than 2 weeks after the minister received the letter. So we are past the court decision. It was a question of when the minister gets to know and when he is assuming duty, and that was about 2 weeks from the date of the letter. So that is the context in which the chair poses his question.
Yes, I'm referring to the very last part of paragraph 6, which refers to the start date as 1 July 2022, start date within SAPS.
Yes.
Yes. When you referred to these facts, which were indicating that there was at least allegations of impropriety. Before I intervened just now, you referred to his appointment, General Sibiya's appointment. So I came in because I thought he had already been appointed, hence the commencement date of the 1st of July 2022.
Commissioner, you might be right, but I'm not privy to the administration process. What I know is that the court made a ruling. I don't have the date of the court judgment, but subsequent to that, as the court ruled that you must make a submission and application, which then must be considered by the organization, and then you must come and start. So whether when this notice come, he had already signed a contract for the position or not, I do not know. However, it does not take away that as an organization that is responsibility is to enforce the law, even if you've signed a contract with an individual, the moment you become aware of the risk that is coming to the organization, you ought to pause and reflect and conduct your due diligence to make sure that there is no risk that is going to be brought by this individual into the organization. But it seems like that did not happen. So he commenced in the organization on the 1st of July. So I'm not going to talk much about what the minister did in relation to the letter, whether did the National Commission know about the risk that was flagged in the letter. I'm not in a position to answer that. But I know that there was this warning before he comes in. What becomes strange to me is that first he becomes a Major General of Detective Service. And a year later, he gets promoted. Now he's promoted to the heartbeat of the police. So he's no longer responsible for organized crime alone. He's now responsible for the entire investigation, including crime intelligence, including forensic. Well, the National Commission has got powers to appoint. It's just strange that the same organization dismissed this man. A year later, when he applies to court, the same organization doesn't appeal, doesn't file papers to oppose that court process. And the same organization brings him back and promotes him a year later. I don't know what he has done on his performance agreement that was so exceptional on this term when he comes back, despite this warning that justified this promotion to get into this position. But this is for me became the risk that the organization would have foreseen back then. And we find ourselves here with an individual who came into the organization with this questionable background. I must maybe speed up, Commissioner, and indicate that amongst of the things that, which I will read into record, the things that has been accused of in the city of Johannesburg as he comes in, amongst others was some procurement or some intelligence devices, which I then find it strange because, well, before I read the terms of reference of the city of Johannesburg, because there's an inquiry currently that is ongoing in the city of Johannesburg that perhaps is not publicized. I'm going to read the terms of reference of the inquiry that are written for public knowledge about the same person. And one of the concerning here is that there is an equipment that is an intelligence equipment that was bought by the city. But before I elaborate on that much, I've already made a reference to the annex of the letter from City of Johannesburg. But I want to draw the attention to the commissioners also to look at the terms of reference on an inquiry that the City of Johannesburg, which is flowing from that indication of 2022, June 20.
That's MK24. You referenced that at your paragraph 269.
I want to invite the commissioners to go into that annexure as it's reflected there on my statement. And I'm going to read on record. I'm not going to read the entire terms of reference from the City of Johannesburg on an inquiry about this matter. It reads, the terms of reference required the SIIC to inquire into, among others, the SIIC refers to the Special and Independent Investigation Committee. It's abbreviated as such. Number one, allegations of fraud in the establishment of the GFIS in the city of Johannesburg. Commissioner, I want to make sure that these abbreviations and acronyms are read on record. The GFIS stands for Group Forensic and Investigation Services. Group Forensic and Investigation Services.
And just for the record, the full name is provided at paragraph 263 of the statement. Thank you, General.
The allegation of fraud in establishment of this GFIS in the city of Johannesburg, and which Gerald Sibia was appointed the group head of. Number two, allegations of fraud, corruption, maladministration, and breach of law in the appointment of the head of GFIS. Number three, allegation of fraud, corruption, maladministration, and breaches of law regarding the implementation of rogue, clandestine, and unlawful investigations by GFIS, particularly the unlawful procurement and or deployment of snooping device called the digital forensic equipment, which is used to remotely access, intercept, and store electronic information from various gadgets without authorization.
Sorry, General. Are you reading from your statement or from the terms of reference?
I'm reading from my statement.
Oh, okay. We were in the terms of reference.
Oh, my bad.
Apologies. At paragraph 270, he extracts some of the terms of reference from annexure MK24. So he made a selection of 3. They're quite extensive.
Commissioners, as I said, the terms of reference are attached as an annex on my document that is before you. I'm not the author here, but this is coming from the city of Johannesburg. But what struck me on this one, Commissioner, as I said earlier, incidents of 2011, as I saw them repeating themselves now, and I started reflecting back then. When I was acting National Commission in 2011, I became aware of the procurement of similar type of devices. And they were procured by DPCI with a sole service provider. It cost over 3 million rand, and the person who signs off and approving on that was a National Commissioner back then in 2010, which was Jabal Cele. And the very same individual was at DPCI where those gadgets were bought. I don't know which company supplied then. I don't even know which company supplied a similar thing to the city of Johannesburg. My biggest concern about this, Commissioners, back then, I took a decision to direct that DPCI is not supposed to be in possession of such equipment. That equipment must be sent to crime intelligence, and it was done as such. So that's a concerning thing for me, that there's this digital forensic equipment. I know there's a relationship with some forensic investigators that are in South Africa with General Sibia. They always go out publicly. I'm not saying that it's them that supply this, but this is called snooping equipment that can access information of people remotely. It is bought at DPCI back then, 2010. We moved it to crime intelligence. It is now bought in the city of Johannesburg. The same common denominator, same person is involved. We don't know where they bought it from the same. I know the one because I have records of the one of 2010. It was bought, delivered from the company in the United Kingdom. I don't know who facilitated that purchase. I don't know this one, whether was it bought from the same supplier or from the same country, and who facilitated that. What concerns me the most, Commissioners, is trying to find out perhaps the city of Johannesburg would be able to shed light in future on this. I'm trying to establish as to where is this equipment today. The JRSB left the city of Johannesburg. There's an inquiry now that is officially launched by the city of Johannesburg, which I will invite the public perhaps to follow. But what is key for me is to find out, where is this equipment? Could it be that this equipment is still with the city of Johannesburg? Or could it be still in a position of the person that acquired this? I don't know. I'm not going to conclude. But what is very interesting for me is to see that there seems to be that warning of the city of Johannesburg of 2022 is confirmed now with these terms of reference that they did warn the organization, hence this inquiry on the city of Johannesburg. That's when I'm beginning to connect the dots, commissioners. So I'm not, as I said, I'm not suggesting that whatever that happened in the city of Johannesburg, the allegations leveled against JRSB are true or not. I guess the inquiry will establish that. But I'm interested to know if there was such an equipment. I'm interested to know where is the equipment now.
You conclude this at paragraph 275, and you have made a request that a slide be projected, which you intend to speak to. So if you could just draw your conclusion, and then the slide will be projected, and then you can address yourself to the slide. Thank you, General.
Yeah, commissioners, my biggest concern in all this is that the heartbeat of the SAPS, that position is occupied by the person who was dismissed from the service, who comes back a year later after coming back, is then promoted to that position. It is the same environment that when the issues of the disbandment of the political killings task team, the head of that environment has got letters written that interfered with the work of the political task team without engaging me. It's a position in the organization is very senior and very critical. So a person occupying that position must be beyond reproach. It is a person who his ethical standard must be above them, all of us. I'm not saying that JRSB does not have that. I'm not saying that he did not have that. But as we're investigating and we're picking up the picture that emerges, which I'm not going to talk about it, but it takes me to going back to question whether did the minister and the national commissioner do the right thing at the beginning by appointing the JRSB in that position. So I want to draw you into this analysis and the picture that I'm beginning to see, which is on 275. As we are doing our things as a police, please put a slideshow so you can blow it up.
Can you just give us the date of the promotion before you go to the slideshow? You keep saying a year later he was promoted to the current position.
Commissioners, I don't have the exact date of the promotion, but a promotion happened a year later.
Was Minister Cele still minister?
At that time, I'm speaking under correction. I don't want to lie. I did not confirm exactly. That's why I don't know the promotion date. I don't even know when that process started for his promotion, similar to what the commission was asking me earlier. When the city of Johannesburg writes a letter on the 20th of June 2022, and JRSB was going to start on the 1st of July, whether he signed the employment contract already with the organization by then, I don't know. Similar to this one, when he was promoted to the position of the Deputy National Commissioner, I know it happened a year later, but whether at that time was the Minister Cele in the office or not, and whether did Minister Cele play the part to his promotion, I do not know. I guess the National Commission will explain that. But what I want to flag here before the Commissioner is that his arrival in the organization was a concern. That should have been a concern for everyone. But it looks like the organization somehow did not take that serious, hence they placed him in that position. So what I'm showing on the screen as I asked that is on PowerPoint presentation.
Apologies, gone on the blink. While they put up your presentation, may I say to Commissioner Kumalo, we have taken that point on board. We will establish a and we will revert with the date of his promotion.
And I think it's relevant to the Regulation 39 issue, because I saw that if you follow the question the chair asked earlier, assuming that when he first came back in July 2022, they were not aware of what was happening in the city of Joburg. A year later, they would have known, because the letter from city of Joburg is 2022.
Well, in fact, it's slightly different. It's before he assumed office.
Yes.
It came to their attention in June 2022.
Yes.
Between 2022 and 2024, when the city of Johannesburg formally launches its inquiry, he was promoted in that period intervening. Yes. There's your slide, General, if you could lead us through it.
Yeah, Commissioner, you might be confused with too many blocks and everything in that slide, but it is what, as we are investigating, that we're beginning to see that, and I want to concentrate myself on this slide on General Cele, the National Commissioner, and General Sibia. You will see at the bottom, General Sibia, the lines that are connected to him, that crime intelligence, detective service, and forensic service, they report directly to him. And we know that there is this connect of everything. Gerald Cele leaves, but what is also part of the investigation that we're picking up is that when the contract of 360 million rand was awarded to Mr. Madlanga and the police, Gerald Cele was the Minister of Police. I'm not saying that he had a role to play on that one, but I'm just saying it's something interesting to look at, because we see communication that the team will come and reflect on between the very same Mr. Madlanga and General Cele, the communication as we have listed there, which dates back to December last year, 2024, how they've been communicating. So it's not only about the arrest of Madlanga, there is communication prior to that, and further evidence that we picked up, exchange of monies and the likes. I guess Jaro Kumar will elaborate more on that when they come in with the investigation team. I don't want to get into it. But it's just interesting to know that Madlanga and Cele have got a relationship and there's money exchanges between. And this is a man that was appointed in the police to be a health risk manager of the service. And the connection that we have put it here linked to Gerald Sibia in all directions, top, left, right, bottom, in all angles. And this becomes a worry because, as I said, this is a heartbeat of the organization. And when we are having the red flags on the left, which is the syndicate, 2 of them already in custody, we have others that we haven't mentioned. And we are having the ghost on the right, black and white, which include so-called experts out there that are spreading wrong information, so-called media journalists that are in there, many parties that you see there on the black. And going up top right corner, you see the entities of government, which will include IPID, IDEC, IGI, that are party to this chaos that we are seeing. And the engagement they're having with the Minister of Police, Mr. Senzo Mkhunu now, Bran Mokgotsi in the Chief of Staff. So this picture is what comes to the fore, and it gets us worried. And we begin to question, how did this man comes into this organization? Could it be this? We ignore the warning from the city of Johannesburg, and we end up here today. So I'm going to leave it here, Commissioners, and move to the next item.
You indicated that other witnesses will come speak to this slide in the fullness of time, and I accept that that's where you want to leave it at this point. Having disposed of that, then, that leads us to our next topic, which starts at your paragraph 276, which you had attempts to seek redress. A quick look through of what you address here. Basically, you've dealt with over the course of your 3-day testimony. You don't have to repeat. You may perhaps just want to deal with paragraph 276, which, as I understand it, is a summary of all the steps you took in an attempt to address what you call a 276 ongoing threats to the criminal justice system. Do you see where I am in your statement?
Yes.
So if you could just highlight those steps just in a summary form, because I think we've spent the past 3 days technically speaking through each one of them.
Yeah, if I'm going to summarize, commissioners, they are there on a statement for your leisure in reading. But the first one, I spoke about it earlier before lunch, that I made a submission to the Zondo Commission because I wanted to reflect specifically the problems that are within crime intelligence and the involvement of the security cluster in the form of NPA in defeating the end of justice or stopping investigations that are continuing, and the executive authority at the time, the role that was played by Minister Mteto in dealing with the Mdluli matter, and police officers within the organization at a senior level. I wanted to reflect that. So I'm not going to dwell on it. The statement is before you, the affidavit is before you. I had not only through the National Commission or anyone else, but I went to Minister Senzo Mtunu directly myself.
Before you get there, can I just play something on record? You had referenced the submissions to the Zondo Commission. You say they were submitted in 2020. Could you just clarify, how did they get to be submitted? Were you responding to an invitation? And you do indicate that you didn't get the opportunity to appear.
I approached the commission and requested to present myself and make a submission, and they assigned an investigating officer who came and he took the affidavit from me. So that's how it was deposited, because I had reached out to the commission to try and get a platform where I can reflect on the experience, on the things that I had that are within the organization. So it was my effort. I was not necessarily invited for it. I went on my own. And thereafter, commissioners, I seeked an audience with the Minister of Police, Mr. Senzo Mtunu, as I said, talking to the Chief of Staff immediately after learning of the letter. Chief of Staff did not facilitate that meeting. And I even went outside the structures other than talking to the National Commissioner to try and secure this meeting with the Minister. I wrote the Minister a message myself when I requested a meeting. He acknowledged that, but he never afforded me the opportunity to meet with him. And I must say that I ended up breaking these protocols by approaching Parliament. And I made contact with the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, Mr. Honorable Ian Cameron, and I must appreciate that he did his best to arrange for me to come and appear before the commission, which I did. And I presented, which I referenced on the record on the 5th of March. But even that presentation still did not help with anything. They listened to me, but it did not solve anything. And what is worse, the 5th is presentation, the following day, the 6th, the ministers having the National Commission, I'm told, in a meeting, and they're discussing the disbandment of the team still. All these things I'm flaking about, Mohotis and the likes. The Member of Parliament, Mr. Adams, who was in that meeting, I present, Jara Kumalo present, which I'm going to invite the commission to get extracts of that. We present serious things that are happening in the police, but the members of Parliament, especially Mr. Adams, was not interested in that, and he was more focused on General Kumalo and appointment of General Kumalo and everything wrong with crime intelligence, and it was disturbing. Because we had tried, and subsequent to that, we felt that then we don't have any choice but to do two things. One of them was to register a case on a defeating edge of justice against the people that were behind the close of the withdrawal of this investigation of KZN. So we have a case that is currently running as a complainant. I hope and pray that pretty soon those involved will be brought to court. We will soon hear about that. I trust the investigation team that are working on these matters, that are going to help us on this. But beside that, I then felt it is important, then, commissioners, that the 68 million plus citizens of this country, they are the ones that signed the Constitution, and they gave us a mandate, and they gave us the responsibility to protect them. And if we get to a stage where we are really failing to protect them, it is important that we alert the citizens that our efforts to try and create safety in their lives is not being realized because of these obstacles. So hence we are here today Thanks to the community, to people of South Africa for listening to us, and the media, I said earlier, for making it possible for us to connect with our clients out there by publishing our July 6 briefing.
Okay, and that sums up the efforts you made up to and leading to the 6th of July briefing. Yes, Commissioner.
General, at paragraph 288, this is where you're discussing, starting at 287, the meeting of the 16th of May, 2025. Now, at 288, you speak about a reference to your request for a meeting with the minister at 288. Can you just explain that a bit?
Commissioners, I sent the Minister of Police a WhatsApp directly, which he acknowledged. And I made a screenshot of that. I have a copy of that WhatsApp. When the minister invited myself and the National Commissioner to come and meet with him on the 16th of May in his official residence here at the Union Building, in that email, there were different time slots that were indicated. The first time slot was going to be the minister, the National Commissioner, and JRSB. The second meeting was going to be the minister, myself, and JRSB. So that's why I knew that the National Commissioner will appear there before me. So I flew from Devon, and I arrived there, and the minister asked me to wait for the National Commissioner to come. Yes, I waited. JRSB was there, and the minister, National Commissioner came, and then the minister walked into the boardroom. So we ended up being 4 in the meeting. I did not expect the National Commissioner to be part of the meeting because the invitation did not include him. But he was invited. I still asked him, I said, what are you doing here? And he said, no, well, I was invited. Even the minister on his opening remarks said, yes, National Commissioner is not supposed to be here, but I thought it is important for him to be here. The purpose of that meeting is what I spoke about in public, that the minister decided to let me fly from Devon so that he can create peace between me and JRSB. That was the purpose of the meeting on the day. But when he started, he acknowledged my request for a meeting. And he said, I do acknowledge that you asked to see me. You wanted to talk to me. But I will grant you that opportunity next time. But for today, I've called you for this peace talk between you and SBIA, nothing else. So that's really what this paragraph is saying, because that is what the meeting was about. And we spoke about that. And then I went back to KZN for the peace talk.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. General, that then would lead us to 305 under the heading Claims of Failure to Follow Protocol. Just a quick comment there. What are you communicating under that heading?
Commissioners, I demonstrated that I've been a member of the South African Police Service for over 30 years. I understand my role as a provincial commissioner, as a senior manager in the organization. I was trained. I did not arrive in the police in a high rank. I came in as a constable, and I grew within the ranks in the organization. So I understand the protocol of the police very well. As I became a senior manager in the police, I will have undergone training in the police, different management courses that I attended that teaches me on the protocol that exists in the police. How do you go about it? It's just unfortunately that when it goes out into the public, that I broke protocol when I had that media briefing. I submit that accusation is unfair and is unfounded. They are criticizing me for something that they don't know what it exists in the police as protocols. Besides the fact that we always address the media from time to time as our provincial commissioners who are responsible for provinces. But for that day, I took a liberty to tell the National Commissioner that I'm going to be having a media briefing. And he asked me what for, and I said for the political task team. And indeed, the briefing was about the political task team, just to indicate why this task team is disbanded. It is because of what we have discovered. So that's what really the briefing was about. And it's unfortunate that there are many people that call themselves experts, lawmakers, and so forth, analysts that blame me for having breached the protocol. Perhaps they will come before this commission and say, this is a protocol of police that Mkwanazi broke on the 6th of July. But I submit before this commission that I did not break any protocol. Because if that was the case and it's brought to my attention, I'll be the first one to admit that yes, indeed, I broke protocol. But I would have believed that action will already be taken against me for having broken protocol. I did not break any protocol.
Okay, thank you. The next chapter.
Advocate Silo,
Oh, yes,
before you
yes,
leave
Commissioner.
that section, General, even the commissioners watch television. You can take it from me that we saw the media briefing on 6 July 2025. You talked about protocol, which means following official channels. I'm more curious about the dress code on the day and the fact that people who appeared were armed. Just give us a general picture. Is that normally how your team dresses? Why were they dressed that way on the day?
Although we have to now display our tactical strategies in public, but commissioners, as we're investigating and this picture coming together, then we start realizing that we now have to move from being a service provider to society to becoming a force in order for us to prevent the El Cadors and the Mexicos to happen in this country. Because the threat, the enemy that we saw that is infiltrating crime intelligence, is infiltrating parliament, and is controlling our executive authority and going into the heart of the police operations, which is investigation. To date, I'm speaking to you, the Matlalas and the likes, if you go and see the record of cases withdrawn against Matlala, more than 18 here in this province. And you really realize that you can no longer wear a tie and face this fight. So this is a fight that requires, for one, to apply the tactics that is learned over years. And one had to draw on experience I had in the task force of saying, how do you deal with a terrorist? And because as I see it now, I think this is terrorism. This is people who want to take over government, not through the ballot paper, but through these criminal activities. We must protect those who go to the voting station. Political parties exercise their rights, they vote, they appoint government. But if government is going to be taken in this fashion, it cannot happen under our name. So it's for that reason that we wanted to communicate a message to South Africa that we are ready, and communicate a message to this drug squad, politicians, the executive, police officers within law enforcement agencies, that we're ready for them. I said when I presented earlier, I knew that I've got a target on my back. So for me, maybe you'll forgive me in saying this as a Zulu man. So I wanted to make sure that they get a message that
I don't sneak up on a person. I face them directly.
So Commissioner, we were pushed to the corner that for us to counter this, what is happening, let's draw attention of South Africa for them to realize the battle that we're about to face. And it is a battle, I must say, as I said, when you put that screen, that they are so-called experts, they are so-called forensic investigators, they are so-called journalists. There's a whole lot of people that are spreading news, feeding the narrative that has been perpetuated by these people in Tenor. We have people in the organization that when a case is open, they take the docket and they keep it in their office and they don't investigate it. And we have evidence for it. The Deputy Provincial Commissioner Gauteng can be called into this commission. He will tell you the list of all these dockets that were opened. There's one of them, it's a a kidnapped person, which is allegedly Madlanga is involved. That docket was in Gauteng, but an instruction came from the head office, the JRSB's office, that we want that case docket. That docket is sitting at the head office. The mother of the kidnapped son, or the missing son, even contacted me because she can't find closure. And now we begin to see that who are people implicated, the Matlalas, and these investigations have been suppressed. We therefore cannot sit back, commissioners. We must take off our palaberam shoes and take off our blue uniform and wear boots and go and face the enemy directly.
Thank
So
you.
the short answer was the attire was a show of force.
You can put it at that, Commissioner. It goes beyond that. You have to win a psychological warfare. You need to win physical warfare. And while we're doing that, we begin to see suspension of some people that were blocking investigations. And we start seeing cases being enrolled that involve these people. I must say that that press briefing put about pressure to the people that were blocking this investigation from happening. The team is working day and night, albeit the court putting Khumalo and the team outside to frustrate them, but they still find a way of pushing forward to make sure that we collapse this entire enterprise that has developed in front of us for the safety of our children and for the safety of the citizens of this country.
Thank you, General. Commissioner, that answers your question. Commissioner Khumalo. Thank you. The next chapter you deal under the heading retaliatory efforts, and just in brief, you contend that there are retaliatory efforts taken against you personally, or some of you, and the task team in general. From paragraph 311, you name two incidents, but just want to point out that from paragraph 311 under the heading, the Mpangeni matter, it's the one you narrated, I think, in detail before. So I would propose that perhaps you don't go through it in detail, but you link it to a subsequent issue that arose starting at your paragraph 319. But before you do so, just to close the Mpangeni matter, perhaps you might want to have regard to your paragraph 317 and 318 as regards specifically that matter before you move on then.
Commissioners, I can indicate here that on the matter of Mpangeni that got me into the media, that involving those drugs and ammunition that were found in prison. After I had requested an inquiry be registered and be investigated, on the 14th of February 2025, Advocate Mkhonza of the NPA declined to prosecute on this matter on the position of drugs and ammunition. I believe that confirmed my suspicion that we couldn't prove that she is got to do with these 5 rounds of ammunition and these few pills that were found in a dustbin. So the NPA declined to prosecute on that matter.
And before you move on, you have attached the affidavit of Kenan Glowu and the NPA letter marked MK26. I apologize. You have attached Colonel Ndlovu's affidavit as well as the NPA letter, and both are MK26. Just to point out to the commissioners that the first document is the affidavit. The actual letter declining to prosecute is at 601 of that annexure. It's a handwritten entry, I think, into the investigation diary signed by Advocate.